Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. Very pleased to decide. So, of course, it's not a sermon today. So, this morning, again, welcome to the seminar for this month, this quarter. This quarter, we'll be talking about what we call the Art of Detachment. And before we do that, I want us to put our heads quickly and just pray. Lord, we thank you this morning for giving us the grace to be here. And we thank you because you will teach us this morning and you open our minds to understand. Lord, help us to improve in every area of our lives and give us the grace to know more about this topic. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. So like I said, this morning we'll be looking at what we call the Art of Detachment. And as we know, every quarter we come here and we'll talk about different topics that impact our lives. As we live our life, many things affect our lives. We talk about finances, we talk about self-development, we talk about leadership, we talk about health. And this time around, we're talking about an aspect called, it's about self-development. And we call detachment. So at this point, we'll look at it because what does it mean to detach? And first, we'll talk about what does attachment itself really means. And what does it mean to detach? Because when we talk about being attached, it's good to be, attachment can be good, but it can turn to negative. It can become unhealthy when it comes to a certain level. And that's kind of what we'll be talking about this morning. So this morning, when we talk about unhealthy attachment, what does it mean? Because some attachment can be good. Sometimes between parents and children, you need to have a form of bond and attachment between people. Sometimes the job that we do, we need to have an attachment, but sometimes it becomes completely unhealthy. And what does that mean? It means extreme reliance on people. When it's become completely that's the only thing we depend on people, positions, or other things for self-worth. When our position defines who we are, when the people that we relate with or our friends define who we are, that we depend on them to define who we are for ourselves, it becomes a problem. Because at that point, if you lose a friendship, or you lose a job, or you lose a position, basically everything about us is completely gone. That's why you see sometimes they can become depressed, or they can become, they can fight tooth and nail for something because they've put their whole being on that thing. Because it defines who they are. And interestingly, for many of us, it creeps on virtually all of our lives, every single one of us. Even though it might happen in different degrees, but it happens in different areas of life. That's why when we depend so much on those things, because we've attached ourselves so much to this, and like I said sometimes, this thing also happens in sports too. Sometimes if you like a specific sport team, I mean, sometimes some people, if Vikings should lose a game, basically it's as if their life is over. Because we've attached ourselves to that thing as if without that thing we cannot exist. That thing defines us. Everybody knows that most of us know that this thing exists. And if you have, sometimes people have a friend, sometimes they rely so much on that friend for every single thing. That without that friend being there, it becomes a problem. Sometimes it can be a family member, it can be a spouse, it can be a child and everything. Sometimes we attachment becomes so much whereby if the person even say I'm traveling, it becomes a problem. Because we've relied so much on them that our being is defined by who that person is. Our being is defined by everything about that person. That our self-worth, everything that we see around our lives, it depends on that person. That if the person said, I'm gone today, our lives fall apart. And it should not be like that. But unknowingly, it happens to almost every single person. Like I said, some people, if their sports team should lose a game, everything collapses. You know, I think I shared it last time whereby there was a man that said that if his team should lose a game, he will physically assault his children and his wife as if they were the problem. Yeah, that's how terrible it is, because it's become so attached to that thing whereby if anything should go wrong there, then everything around them should suffer. That's why when something becomes so extreme that reliance becomes on that, that's something that we have to examine and tell ourselves, does this even make sense anymore? Now, what are the signs that we see that these things? There is something that's excessive neediness. That you feel that you always need that person, or you always need something, or you always depend on that thing, or fear of abandonment. That if you person abandon me today, my life is over. If something should happen today, my life is over. And then lack of boundaries and always need for reassurance. So, you know, somebody, you always have to, that person also has to assure you, oh, I'm still here, I'm still your friend, I'm this, I'm that. Or you always need that constantly, or even we lack boundaries whereby we can intrude people's boundary and they can intrude to our boundaries. Now, boundaries, because when we talk about boundaries, somebody said there's between a boundary and a wall. A boundary is healthy, but a wall is not, because a wall basically means that I don't want to see anybody. You create a wall around yourself, it's only you are within that. But a boundary basically means that when I need my me time, you don't have to come to it. I can have my own space. A boundary means I can go, I can come in. A wall means nobody can come in and I cannot go out. You've walled yourself in. That's between a boundary and a wall. So when we don't have that boundary whereby everything we get into it and everything, or are you still here? Are you gonna be there for me?
Do you still love me?
If you love me,
you still love me?
Every single time, that becomes a problem. Because it's not supposed to be like that. Every time because we depend on, because what happens is we've put so much weight on that person or on even positions. Some people they will become a position whereby if they have a title, that's I'm a CEO, I'm a manager. And it becomes to the point whereby people don't even know their names anymore. People know their title by them. I'm a pastor, I'm a doctor. Because they don't imagine, if you say, what's your name? Oh, my name is Doctor. Your name is not Doctor. Because they become extremely attached to it. Whereby, if you lose that thing today, it can destroy their life because they become so used to it. And if somebody make a mistake of not calling them by that title, oh boy, that person will hear it. Because they feel that is them. That is their life. And that's where it becomes challenging. Another thing also is loss of self and attachment of identity. Like I said again, is when we lose ourselves in something. And we can lose ourselves in people, in family members, in friends. We lose ourselves in them and we attach our own identity to that thing or them. You know, if you meet someone today, they will ask you, the first thing they will say is, if people see them, that's Chelsea fan, that Arsenal fan, that Viking fan. That's how they know them. They don't even know, because that thing so when something goes wrong in a space that they attach themselves to, then it becomes a problem. because they've been so used to that. Or people say, oh, that's my friend, and that's the only friend. Because you've put the whole identity of your own on that person. So without that person being there, the whole life collapses. I'm not saying that it's bad to have positions, don't get me wrong, but it should not define who we are. I'm not being against watching sports, but it should not start to define exactly who our life is supposed to be. I'm not against having friends, but your friend is not you. You are you.
Amen.
And we should be able to separate that from our family members or everything. Oh, my spouse and everything. Everybody will come and go. That's the reality of life. It doesn't mean they will die. They might die, or things may happen, but if the whole world revolves around just one person, it becomes a problem. Or revolves around the title, or revolves around the job, revolves around sports and everything, that's a problem. The other person also is fear of loneliness, failure, or people's judgment. Fear of the fact that I cannot be alone. If this person is not with me, life is a problem, and everything will become afraid. The other thing, there is sometimes fear of failure. Many times, we have been so attached to a specific outcome that people have to see us in a certain way. That if I should do something and something should go wrong, then everything is done. We feel that if I don't achieve this thing in what I do, then I'm a failure. It's not even that thing failed. We see it as we failed. Does that make sense? Because we are attached to that outcome of the fact that if I should say, okay, I want to throw this thing up, if it should fall down, then it's a failure. But you forget that if you throw it up, sometimes the wind can blow, right? Anything will happen. But we're so much attached to the fact that if anything should go wrong, because that outcome that we have in mind, if we don't get it, it's a problem. It's what we were talking about yesterday, whereby if I want something and I don't get it, I have to get it at all costs. And if I don't get it, then my life is over. No, your life is not over. You live to another day. That's what it's supposed to be. But because we've been so attached to that outcome that we are so afraid of failure, and sometimes it prevents us from making decisions. The other one is people's judgment. We rely so much on people's opinions that we're so much afraid of what people will say than who we become. We rely so much on the person's decisions than who we are supposed to be. Oh, if I don't do this very well right now, everyone will judge me. But truth, who cares? Because we are so afraid of what the society, that's what we see sometimes in where what the society will say sometimes, we allow it to determine who we are. But society does not determine our lives. We determine our life, because that's why if you are so afraid of people's judgment, you need to examine within yourself. Are you living your life for those people, or are you living for you? The other one also is dependence. We see others as source. We see others or other things as a source of security. That if that thing should disappear today, we feel life is over. That the whole security of our lives, we feel that it depends on specific things. But the truth is, they don't. If something should go wrong today, you get up tomorrow and you go again. But we feel that, oh, if that person is not in my life, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, there's a song, I don't know if it's one of his old songs. I live without you. I want to know. Truth is, you will live. without with somebody or something. Or someone will say, if I don't have this position, things will go wrong. And what if you don't have it? You will still live. It's not about that, because when we have this unhealthy attachment to that something, or we begin to see these signs in our lives, which means the attachment has become unhealthy. And we'll see more as we go. Now, a couple of things is reasons for attachment. And this is kind of what I want to spend some time on, because when we talk about why do we get so attached to things, one of them is childhood trauma. if anybody has experienced some things while they were young, and trauma, or virtually everyone has their own share of trauma in different ways. Whether it's because of abuse, whether it's because of unhealthy relationship, whether relationship with parents and everything, all of these things can shape whereby we can become attached to other things. For example, a child that maybe the parents left that child, or maybe they send a child to foster home and everything, it can impact their self-esteem. And with time, they can become attached to other things. I will see the effect because when attachment becomes completely unhealthy, now sometimes what we see are the symptoms, but we don't see the cause at the back, behind it. A lot of things, sometimes if you grow up very poor, it can impact the way we see money. It can impact how we experience spending money and everything. It can affect all of those things. Sometimes if we don't have food when we are growing up, if you have a very small food, you protect with every single thing that you have. All of these things, or if you've been abandoned before, or somebody left us when we were young, it impacts our relationships and everything that we do. So childhood trauma is one of the biggest things because while we are growing up, the environment that shapes us, it can impact what we get attached to. If you see some people that get bullied when they were young at school, it can impact how they live their lives. Because every small thing that they see as even if whether it's a threat or not, they feel that it's a problem. So the security that they see around them, if they feel that something is going to go wrong, they fight for it tooth and nail, and they can become excessive. The other one is also family dysfunction. Sometimes people inherit trauma. You know, sometimes when people grow up in a family whereby both parents don't get along, and they keep fighting each other, they throw words at each other, and they keep seeing that kids inherit those things because they feel that sometimes it can lead to fear of will I be left alone. It can lead to different things because it's a dysfunction that they inherit. They see it, and sometimes it can happen to kids sometimes in schools too. Because, you know, you see teachers whereby when they see children and everything, they say this one cannot amount to anything. This one cannot be as if they created that child. Sometimes children begin to operate in those things. Sometimes there's societal dysfunction. If the role that racism has played in the US and everywhere around the world is huge. Because when you feel that everywhere you go, people just you feel that you don't belong. It can create attachment to some things whereby we become so attached to those things that we feel like we don't want to leave them alone. So all of these things play a role. Sometimes loss. If kids that lose someone at a very, very young age, and they lose a parent, it can impact that. Because it can impact the way, because when they lose that parent, it's a trauma that they carry all their lives. And it can impact that. So all of these things, or people lose jobs. They lost something and everything. Because if you have lost a job before, for a specific reason, you don't want it to happen again. And sometimes you stay in a terrible job for you just to kind of hold on to something. Sometimes we stay in unhealthy relationships because we've lost one before. So all of these things are things that they are reasons whereby we experience unhealthy attachments. Any question about this? Questions, comments about unhealthy attachments? How they come to our lives?
I've heard every one of those. I'm thinking, man, I'm messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. All of those things.
All of them.
They play a role.
Well, I always tell myself, God will never leave me. God will never leave me. God will never leave me. Sometimes I repeat myself over and over. If I ever start to feel like that again, I always say, God will never leave me. Never. God may leave me. People may leave me. Children may not talk to you, but God will never leave me.
How do you be able to tell someone's a normal attachment or like an unhealthy one? Because I know if you lost something that you love, you would definitely be sad.
No, the case is, it doesn't mean that when you lose something, you don't become sad. But when that thing defines you, that you feel that you cannot live without that thing, that's when it becomes completely unhealthy. It's the fact that things will come and go. It doesn't mean that you lose something, you lose someone, you don't feel sad. But when you feel that my life is over if I lose this thing, then that's when it becomes a problem.
When you continue.
Yeah. You
But
continue.
you can't get out of it.
You can't get it. It
It comes
becomes
to
a
your life,
cycle.
right?
Yeah. And that becomes a problem because it's completely unhealthy at that point.
I was gonna say sometimes some people don't realize, because I think you can go around not realizing that you're attached to something. For example, some people when they retire, that's when they suffer an identity crisis because they don't know who they are anymore.
Yeah.
Especially if your job was all you did, and you spent a lot of time at work, so maybe you start to realize, now who am I now without my job? Like, who am I? So sometimes I think it's good to have maybe lots of different things that you're involved in so that when you stop one big part of your life, because work is you spend several hours there a week. So when it's no longer there, I think one doesn't feel
The emptiness.
yeah.
It's not there. Yeah. Those things play a huge role.
Yeah.
Because that's why when we configure our lives, we have to start leaving room for what if it goes away. And we look at some of those things today because everything will come and go.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we kind of need to pay attention to because loss especially and everything, it plays a huge role because once we begin to, until you lose it, you don't understand what it looks like. And then, but you feel like, it defines you.
Sir, I'm thinking, is this part of the reason for attachment? Attached to a certain place, and when you relocate, can it be part of what you are talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, because basically we feel when we are so attached to a specific place that even if you go to some place, we cannot even have peace in that place. It can become unnecessary attachment because we've been so because attachment can be different things. It can be our home. It can be our. Some people drive only one car. That if you are still to drive a different car, they cannot drive it because they attach so much to that car whereby the car is their life, basically. So it may be a very small thing, but when the attachment becomes whereby you cannot live without that thing, it becomes a problem.
Let me bring this example. Maybe it's an attachment or what I see. Maybe it's health related or when I went to Nigeria December, the house that we stay in is different for the structure of where we live here. So when we came back, the first night that I wanted to go to the restroom, I was thinking I was in the so I went into the direction of the house that I just left. I don't know that if that is related or
Yeah, it's not even health, it's familiarity. Because basically, if you are new to a place and everything, sometimes you have an idea of where you used to live. I don't think that's because, your home is your home. You understand? So, we get used to our home and it's not a bad thing. The only thing is when we become restless because we are not in that home. That as if, what if something happens to that home? What if this goes to that home? Something, then whereby it becomes unnecessary agitation, whereby we feel that something will go wrong in that house if we are not there. Then that becomes something else entirely because we cannot be at peace somewhere else because we are not in that place. And that's something else entirely. But your house is your house. You get used to your house for sure.
So how do we look, excuse me, how do we look at this biblically? I notice, putting, a Bible verse comes to mind, don't put anything else before me, right? Because God is a jealous God, right? So if I put anything else before God, like my house, my motors, I used to build motorcycles, custom motorcycles. And I would work in that garage for hours and hours and hours, I would not give any attention to my family, and one night I was in there working and my daughter's mother walked in with a pillow and a blanket. She said, "Here, you could sleep in here tonight with your motorcycle." She was upset. I'm not spending any time, and she was right. I put everything. I had to make sure that bike, if it didn't run right, I had to fix it right then. And I I had my priorities messed up. And same thing, you know, like with like your job, you know, you can overwork ourselves to death. You know, and I made the excuse, well, I gotta work because you're a stay-at-home mom and I have to provide for the family, so I'm working weekends, you know, not going to church and.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from basically it's idolatry. Basically, you adore that to the point that nothing can take that thing away from us, because we've put that thing beyond God or beyond any other thing, and that's where that comes from. But I don't want to go deeper into it because we can spend more time on that today. But because we have many content to go into.
I got you.
Yeah, everything. But basically, that's it, because when we elevate anything above God or above people that we live with and everything, or even human beings, that whole, if you're not going to that place, I'm not going because we feel that that thing is, or that person is everything about us, it becomes challenging. So I want us to the effect of unhealthy attachment. One of the biggest one is unrealistic expectations. You expect everything from that person. The person to watch over you, the person to keep you, the person to give you food. Because everything about our lives is, if we don't get it from that person, life is over. Oh, if that person should say, I'm traveling today, life is over. But we have unrealistic expectations of people. You have to realize the fact that human beings are human beings. One day they will fail us. Or we expect so much from the fact that if this job doesn't give me anything, or we put every expectations on that thing. We expect that if I'm sleeping, the person should be watching over me. The person also needs to sleep. Oh, you are not protecting me. The person is not your protector. But we keep having so much expectations whereby it becomes completely unrealistic, forgetting that whether that person also, anything can happen to it. So that's one of the things. The other one is assumptions and defensiveness. Sometimes where it comes in is the fact that because we become so attached to specific things, we make assumptions. Oh, I called that person and they didn't call me back. You think that actually they may actually maybe be busy at work. Oh, I sent them a text, they did not respond. Oh, this person hates me so much.
Or you don't care.
Yeah, whereas something,
you don't care.
Whereas something else happened to them. Oh, that person is, what if the person you are trying to tell, the person is sick? We make assumptions of everything because we become so attached whether to them or to things around them. Or if somebody if you call somebody and they don't respond to you again, this person abandoned me again, you don't like me anymore. It's because we are suffering from unhealthy attachment to relationships. Another one is defensiveness. We become defensive about everything. Something small happens, we feel that we have to defend everything, and if somebody says something small, then we fight them about it. Those things are things that because we are attached, or somebody says, oh, why did you do this work this way? Oh, what's your problem? And everything. They are only asking a question, but because we've been so attached to the fact that maybe they feel that my work is bad. But even if your work is bad, you can still take it. Sometimes some people don't take feedback without fighting it every single time. Instead of taking time and say, okay, what if they are right? But everything is a fact because sometimes we feel that our self-esteem is attacked when people disagree with us. Those are the things that sometimes it leads to. Jealousy, obsession, and possession. Or you cannot talk to somebody else. If you're not talking to me, then which means maybe you are with somebody else. Oh, if you're not talking to me, this sort of thing is happening. If you're not talking to me, you're not my friend. Nobody is created for anybody. We are all independent beings. Whether we are married or not, we are independent beings. Because when jealousy comes in, when we become obsessed with whether somebody, a person or a car or anything, the obsession becomes what it is. And that's one of the issues that we see or it becomes possessive. Because the problem. The other one is low self-esteem. Because we feel that everything about our life depends, our self-esteem depends on that thing. So basically, we have very low self-esteem. If somebody say that if we throw something at us today, we feel that we have to accept every negative thing that comes to us. because it's more like that's the best I could get. So those are the things that come in. The other thing is sometimes people stay in abusive relationships because they feel that if they leave, they can't get anything better. And when I say it, because because maybe they've experienced a loss in the past, maybe somebody has left them in the past, and with that, or maybe because their parents were not there, they feel that, oh, this person, doesn't matter what it is, they love me, I have to live with whatever they do. Sometimes the person is beating them every day. The person is physically abusing them, but they stay there because they feel that that's the best they could get. Sometimes it's because we are attached to the fact that if a relationship is gone in our lives, we cannot get anything better. The other one is sometimes when we get to this point, we can become vulnerable to manipulations. Because if we become attached to a manipulator, they will tell us everything that is wrong, and then we say, okay, because you get manipulated easily. Because the person feels that you needed something every single time. And when that happens, at the end of the day, what happens is we get so because we are so vulnerable to manipulations. The other one is addiction. I was talking to someone one day, and the person said that when we talk about addiction, the person said what is normally treated, they treated the addiction itself, but there is something behind it. Addiction doesn't come because the person just feel like doing it. They are missing something. And sometimes when we say addiction, sometimes we talk about addiction because of maybe it's only there's drugs, there is alcohol and everything, but there are more addictions too. Some people are addicted to porn, some people are addicted to their jobs, to sports. Eh? Yeah, to phone. Yeah.
They said shopping.
Shopping, exactly. But what happens is those addictions, those things that we are saying is a symptom of something. That's why what you see is a symptom, it's not a thing. Until you treat that thing, you cannot deal with the addiction. And that's why on average, when people have a specific addiction, it's difficult to cure because until we go to what's the root cause. And there's something that we normally call it root cause analysis. Why did I get here? Until that root cause is dealt with, it doesn't change much. The root cause of whatever brought us to a certain place of addiction has to be dealt with. Otherwise, the cycle will continue. We go up today, down tomorrow. Up today, down tomorrow. The reason simply is because we are yet to deal with what caused those things. So when we have unhealthy attachment, addiction can all one of the symptoms that we see. The other one is we keep chasing perfection. Oh, it has to be right. If it's not right, it's not good. It has to be 100% correct. Everything that we see is the fact we keep running, chasing after it. Is the fact that if it's not, for us, 80% is not good enough, unless 100%. The truth is, perfection is not a destination, it's a journey. Sometimes we don't make decisions because we feel it's not perfect. And what are we afraid of? We're afraid of judgment. What if it goes wrong? I was talking to someone one day about, sometimes I was reading about psychology of money. Sometimes the reason why we don't make investment was because we've suffered some loss, or we don't have enough money at certain point of our lives, or suffered a loss. Because of that, every small thing that we do, we don't want anything to go out. We cover them up every single time. Or sometimes you need to make a decision to move forward in life. Or if I should go there and I don't get it, what happens? Because we suffered a loss in the past. Oh, I want to apply for a new job. What if I go to that job and I don't do very well? Or there's a promotion for you. There was a time I was working to someone, this person knows everything to be in the next position. But they will never take that position ever. Because they feel that they will not do well there. Sometimes they are holding to the fact that they have failed in the past. And they feel that, no, I'm okay where I am. I will not do anything different. This is perfect for me. I will keep living in this small cycle. And they continue that cycle all their lives. Because they feel that, what if it goes wrong? The truth is, in life, things will go wrong. Somebody said that not taking a risk is a risk. Because what if something that you are holding on to fails? But because we are chasing perfection in everything that we do, sometimes it's because we've been attached to something in our lives that we didn't let go. Any question about some of these things?
I have a question concerning addiction.
Yeah.
So, can we say is addiction a work of the devil, or because I remember because of what happened to me year back 2019. So after that, if I hear if I feel something like a crack or just my back, my mind will be there. Well, oh, maybe it's the one. Then Mayo Clinic, go to the when we get to Mayo Clinic.
Yes.
That's nothing to do with you just have a muscle something or something like that. So remember 2023, then it's something happened again. Then on the 19th, I said, oh, we need to go something like this. The investor here was in the room when we were talking, and he said, what is it? Go to bed, lay down in bed, then you cover it with a blanket, put your head on the pillow and lay on your back. You that is feeling that this thing is there. It's not there anymore. When you are giving the devil, because you are already addicted to this thing that that is why you are saying that thing. So it's is it a devil thing that will be putting on your mind that, oh, until you go to this place you can't be, or
I mean, it could go in both ways, but sometimes trauma, when we suffer trauma in the past, it's a big deal. Because, because when we've suffered something in the past, sometimes it comes to us because everything that looks like it feels like it, even though it's not it. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily that's not even though, but sometimes because we've experienced a trauma. That's again because trauma is one of the things that causes these things for us that we can become attached to sometimes. Oh, and everything. Oh, something small happened. Oh, I have to go there because that's the only place I can get healed. It's trauma. Because when we experience something before, it plays a role. It plays in our mind. Sorry.
Just a quick question. The third line down: jealousy, obsession, and possession. Is that physical possessions?
Yeah, it can be physical possession. It can be emotional possession.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes if you have a car, nobody can drive that car. So people, the car that they have, nobody will touch that car.
Okay, so
they become possessive.
Physical possession.
Yeah,
okay.
And it can be emotional too. Whereby if somebody is not there, you possess them in your own mind. Whereby if they are not there, you don't care for them. You've thought about everything that will go wrong, or they don't like me anymore because you become possessive of that relationship, and it becomes challenging.
I was going to say, just in response to what my sister here said, it can happen also, for example, like when someone is on medication for a certain condition. So, for us as Christians, we believe that God is the one that heals us. But we also know that sometimes God will use the doctors or whatever the case may be. But if you're in a medication regimen, when your course is over, because if you believe that it's that medication that is keeping one alive or keeping the sickness away, once your, the time of your, they say you will take this for 3 weeks or however long, after that time is over, then you'll be like, okay, now I'm vulnerable again because I don't have the medicine to take. Yeah. So I think it's something like that happens to people, but I think it's just I don't know if I would call that attachment. Is it more of a psychological? It's psychological,
but also it's become, that's where addiction sometimes also comes in. Yeah. Because when some people have pains.
Yeah.
And they've been taking some medication. The pain is what takes their medication. If anything small happens, they have to go back to that medication. It becomes what they rely on completely. Because now they become attached to that medication on the level. Yeah. Because it has become the fact that that's the only way they can live their life.
So my question that I want to ask is, can we talk about the attachment with, for example, maybe a reliance on like your pastors or your prophets? Because I think, and I can relate it back to I've grown a little bit more in my Christian faith where I think I can, I can take the time and pray for myself. I can recall a time when, before I make any decision, right, I have my, someone I will go to and I'll say, hey, I want to do this thing because it was almost like I was praying for myself, but I was really relying on this other person because I feel like maybe their prayer is more effective than mine. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? So that's sort of reliance and attachment where I think as a Christian we have to then grow to the point where we know that when I'm praying, God will hear me the same as if this person that I consider to be a big prophet, when they pray, God will hear that.
Assistant God.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. So can we talk about that attachment and reliance and
yeah, I mean, and that actually is very, very common,
yeah.
especially in Christianity. It's so common whereby we've become reliant so much on pastors that we see pastors as intermediary between us and God. But there is no intermediary between us and God. And sometimes also because sometimes the way the gospel is also preached. We've been preaching is the fact that, oh, God cannot speak to you. God has to speak to me to speak to you. And then everybody becomes reliant on that pastor. What if that pastor dies? What happens? Sometimes the case is, I think as human beings many times, we've not taken time to understand the fact that human life basically is an straight. You cannot breathe anymore, you're done. But sometimes we put people, again, because the way we have relationships with our friends, we can have the same thing with pastors because our life depends on that pastor. That if you call the pastor and the pastor is not picking up your call, you are in disarray. It happens. Because we formed that unhealthy attachment to that. Some people, they will not respect their spouse at home, but their pastor, they can give everything to their pastor. It's wrong. Because or some people, I cannot do anything for. Some people, they cannot take care of their children, but they can take all their money to the church or whatever they worship. It happens. The reason is because it's become completely reliance on that person. It's similar to relationships too. Oh, I call the pastor did not pick my call. Oh, maybe the pastor doesn't like me anymore. The pastor has a life without you.
Yeah. He's a factor practice.
So that's because, again, the same thing because we've become so reliant on that relationship that I cannot reach God without this person. Or now, if that one is not working anymore, you look for another one again. Because now, it's not the person themselves, it's the position that we've put that person in our lives. Whereby, if a cat says, I'm a prophet, or God used a cat to show you something one day, cat, what am I supposed to do today? That's not the way it's supposed to be. But that can happen a lot. That people put people in the position of God. It can happen.
What you said is correct. But I want us to look at it in another dimension. This position, God knows that they are going to be relevant. It's because some people have abused it. That is why people are not really rely much on them. The office that God gave in the Bible, they are meant for a specific purposes. I cannot say because I had a bad experience with one pastor or prophet or other, there is not genuine one.
Yes.
And we can't live our Christian life based on our own self. There will be a day that we need somebody around us spiritually.
Yes.
The only thing that we is making us to fall into all those fake prophets, fake prophets, is that we are lazy ourselves. There is no discerning. We don't pray for discerning spirits. And another mistake you have mentioned it. I can come to you. This is my problem, and God can give you the solution to my problem. It doesn't mean that every day I come to you, you will get the problem.
Yeah.
But some pastors will now say yes because God has honored him.
Yeah.
That day it becomes
business.
If you have looking for fruit of womb, come to me. If you are disease, come to me. And it's not so.
Yeah.
God is looking for somebody to use a specific period, and he look for available person. That's most of the things that some pastors, prophets, they don't know. So God will help us.
Thank you very much, because I'm grateful, because it doesn't mean that we discard pastors and everything, but we don't become reliant on them. Because God may use them because sometimes people have a question, we can be able to discuss that, and we can pray together. But it doesn't mean that that person becomes a semi-God. I think that's where it becomes challenging, is the fact that, without my pastor, I cannot sleep.
So pastors without me, they cannot live.
Yeah.
I won't pray for them again. In fact, I can cause them.
Well,
So, both ways.
yeah. So there is something I want us to quickly look at here. I call it emotion logic skill. We talk about it because emotions basically is our emotions. It can be anger, it can be anger, it can be joy, it can be different things. And then there's logic, whereby basic is this is what's going to happen. It's straightforward. It's logic. Logic says 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. That's the logic operates. But emotions can say 1 plus 1 is equal to 10. Because we are looking at it from an emotional perspective. Now, when we become completely emotional, that's where the attachment zone comes in. Every event that happens to us in life, we interpret every single one of them emotionally. Oh, somebody doesn't call me, they must have hated me and everything. Or somebody just say hi to us, that person loves me so much. Or something, because everything becomes exceptional emotional. That's where the attachment zone comes in, because everything that we interpret in life boils down to emotional. Somebody look at us, and then you become to cry. They don't like me. This goes on. They are looking at me as if maybe I have something in my nose that is not supposed to be there. Everything is interpreted on an emotional. And that, when you see nervous and sensitive, clingy and lacks boundary, strongly for affirmation, suspicion, and jealousy. That's what I think that we see in the attachment zone, because it becomes unhealthy attachment. Everything is interpreted emotionally every single time. You call someone and they didn't call you back. What if they are at work? Logic can tell you maybe they are doing something, or maybe they forgot. But emotions tells you something is wrong right away. That's where the logic and emotion comes in. Now, on the detachment zone, which is the middle zone, because sometimes some people become so logical that they completely disengage. And we'll talk about that too. In the detachment zone, you are calm. You are not nervous, you are not sensitive, you are calm, and you feel like, okay, maybe something goes on, okay. Maybe I call that, maybe they are going through something, eventually maybe they'll call me back and everything. Or also you are mindful of other people too. That other people have life without you. You are mindful of their relationships. You think about that. And also we have healthy boundary. Whereby we have boundary, because there are things whereby somebody can say, I cannot go with you today because I'm not feeling okay. But when we don't have healthy boundary, whatever request they ask of us, we have to do it. Some people can say, well, go there. I need to help you to go, and if you go there, you know that you have a job to do. But because you don't want to offend them, you call it on your job to go and help them on something that they can even do themselves. That becomes unhealthy. Anybody can intrude into our life. You can also intrude other people's lives too. And also emotionally balanced. So many times things will go up, it can go down. You kind of have that balance in life, so it's not a challenge. Now, the disengaged zone is their cold. They don't even think about whether somebody has anything or not. Everything is, they are cold and they are walled in. For them is, don't come in, don't go out. This is my wall, you cannot intrude into my space. Anyhow, you cannot even do anything there. And also they make cold, everything about them is cold. No friends, nothing. That one also is a disorder too. The other one is active withdrawal. They can withdraw from every other person. They don't want to deal with anyone and everything. For them, everything is logic. If I look at you today, you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're not friends anymore, everything, boom, cut off. They are disengaged and they don't think about it twice. They lose interest and there's a lot of passion. They are not interested in other people or anything. It's just about that going to be their life, because everything is cold. For them, it's logic. If 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2, then it must be 100% wrong. Many times 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2 at times. Because emotions can play a role. Things can come in whereby everything, because for them it's black or white. But we know that most of the time life has more gray than black and white. But for a disengaged person, is fully, because they operate solely on logic. Emotion is zero. If you say, well, I'm sorry I could not come tomorrow because maybe my child is sick. Well, which means you lose your job. They don't think about the fact that other people have life. Because for them is, if you are paid to do a job, you are not doing it, then the right way must fire you. I'm not saying that we should, but there are times that people go through things in life. For them, they don't see the other side of life. Because for them, the only thing that they see is the fact that this and this, if it don't happen that way, it's wrong. That also is a different problem entirely because they are cold. They make cold decisions. Doesn't matter, we don't think about whether you are going through something or not. For them, it's cold decisions. It's straightforward. That's the only thing that they think about in life. Any question about this scale or this zone? Questions, comments? We're gonna take a quick break now. Any question about this? Okay. We're gonna take that 5 minutes break to talk about how to detach effectively, but I will leave this on so everybody wants to kind of take a look at it. So in 5 minutes we'll come back.
Thank you. You learn anything? I got all these things now. Oh.
So, any question on what we've talked about so far? Any question, any comments before we get to how we can actually detach? So, how do we detach effectively? Because sometimes I don't want us to become cold. It's moving from attachment to detachment, not disengagement. Does that make sense? So how do we detach? So the first is why do we need to detach? The first thing is to reduce stress. Because attachment is exhausting. If you feel something that you've been attached to in your life, you become exhausting. I will tell you because sometimes I become so attached to watching my team play, it can be very exhausting because sometimes you think about it all the time. Every time there is a loss and the team loses a game, you become crazy about it. If you attach to money, every time something's happened with your money, or if you put any money, if you're a first time person in stock market and the market goes down, every time if it goes up, you are so happy. When it goes down, it's as if the whole world has crashed. That's what you feel because you've been so attached to that thing. So when we detach, we reduce stress. We become less stressed. The other one is you build confidence and independence. Because when we say independence, it doesn't mean that you are here every other person is here, but sometimes you cannot need to live independently. Knowing fully what other people actually, you can be confident to feel that okay, if I do something on my own, then I'm good. Whether that thing exists or not, I can live without it. I can live without something. You know that, you understand that. And also you develop what we call inner peace. When you have peace on the inside, your struggles become less. You struggle less with different things because you're peaceful. Internally, you are not, if you have ever experienced inner struggle, within your soul, you're fighting something. When we have too much attachment, that's what happens because you are fighting the fact that, oh, what if I lose again? What if that happens? Because you lose that peace. But when you have that, and also we maintain what we call healthy relationships. When you know that people have issues, people have things that they deal with, you don't keep thinking about if they are gone, what's going to happen. Or they are talking to someone else, what's going to happen. Yeah, okay, if we are friends, they'll come around and everything. But you are not feel like, oh, if you should talk to someone else, it means they left you alone. So I'm going to notice the fact that when you relate with them, it becomes toxic, they'll go away. Because they feel that they can't live their life without you. You become their baggage, basically. So you may even sometimes with your sports team, you can maintain a healthy relationship, whereby you can watch without feeling that, oh, if this team should lose today, my life is over. Your life is not over. You can watch without feeling that, okay, knowing fully well that loss is part of the sport. Sometimes when you're on the job, criticism is being criticized part of the job sometimes. So it happens whereby you are not so attached to the fact that everything has to go in a specific direction. You are not attached to a specific outcome in everything, in jobs, relationships, finances. Things can go south sometimes. And you can be able to have a peace without, okay, that's okay. And also you live healthily. Because basically, sometimes we have all high blood pressure because of the fact that we have anxiety. And those things can impact our life mentally because we are so attached. I'm not saying that that's what causes every high blood pressure, but sometimes it can play a role in the fact that because you are worried about everything. Worry basically destroys everything because when you worry so much about everything, you can't change it. You can't change everything. So that's why we need to detach some things in our lives. Now let's see. The first thing is acceptance. You have to admit that you have some unhealthy attachments. Whatever you don't admit, you can't fix. You have to admit the fact that, maybe I've become so attached to the relationship whereby it's become something else for me. I have to think about it, okay. Is it okay for me to feel anxiety every single time this happens? You have to accept that. What you can lie to yourself and say everything is okay. but you are lying to yourself. You are not you are. But we have to tell ourselves, sometimes I think the way I watch this sport has become too much. I think it's affecting my life. I have to slow it down a little bit. Or the way I look at money sometimes it's become too much, whereby I have to figure out if you know what, I can live a little bit. Be able to have that and everything. And now, after that, the second thing is, why are you attached? Is it because of what happened during your childhood? Is it because you've lost something in the past? What are the things that gets you into that point of attachment that you cannot let go? You have to spend some time to go deeper into that. And sometimes it can require you to talk to someone, have a conversation about, this is a thing, and they can help you to decipher exactly what is going on. But you have to know, because what you don't know, you can fix. So you have to know, why are you attached? Those things, because sometimes of us, we do some things as a cover-up for something else. You have to know the reason why you become attached. And then pause and reflect on the impact of the attachment on your life and the people in your life. It's because you become extremely attached to some things, how does it impact you? How is it impacting others? Because until we be able to look at, because if you don't look at the effect on our lives, we will not be able to say, I should change something. Because if you don't think something is wrong, they say, why fix what is not broken? But sometimes it's so broken, you just choose not to see it. But you have to say, what am I attached to? Why am I attached? And how is it impacting my life? What are you attached to? Why are you attached? How is it impacting you? Those three, we have to be able to go through that and say, what is it? What is the impact of this on my life? Is it impacting me from living peacefully, from doing what I'm supposed to do? So you have to go through that and be able to figure it out. And like I said, sometimes you may not be able to do that by yourself. You might need help to do that. And by help means seek the help. Because we have to be able to overcome that to get to the point whereby you're able to move forward with life. Any question about it, please? What are you attached to? Why are you attached? How is it impacting your life? Those three, we have to figure it out. The other one is also differentiating between love and attachment. Sorry, this thing is called love. We have to differentiate between love and attachment. You can love something. All of us have things that we love. For me, I love to watch some sports. But sometimes when the love becomes to the point that it negatively impacts your life, it's not love anymore. You can love someone, but when they go to the point whereby if they are gone for a few minutes, your life is over, you have to think about it. Is this actually love or obsession? Or if you can love someone, because that's why we have to differentiate between those things. What is love? What is attachment? Love basically is you can enjoy things without getting lost in it. Difference between love and attachment. Yeah. So you can enjoy something. You can enjoy people's company without getting lost in it. That is love. You can have a relationship whereby you enjoy, you appreciate, but you don't lose your identity in the midst of that. But if you have lost everything in the midst of that, it becomes something else. And also, you can care without being subjected. Because when you can care about someone, but when you become a subject in care, whereby every small thing, you have to please the person every single time. It's something else. If the person is doing something wrong, you have to please them. Have you ever been in a place whereby this is where manipulation comes in? Someone knows that you are attached to them, and they will tell you, go and do that thing for me. You know that thing is wrong, but because you don't want to say no to them, you go and do it. We see it a lot because it happens a lot in cults. People get they can love their cult leader so much whereby whatever the person tells them to do, they don't think twice about it. Even they know in their consciousness they know it's wrong, but they want to please that person. That is not love anymore. that is that is attachment, unhealthy attachment. And also, you can engage without depending or clinging. You can engage people, but we don't have to cling to them. That is love. I can engage you and everything, but I don't have to say, if you are gone today, my life is over. It should not be that way. We can engage very well. We can talk among ourselves, we can have fun, but I should not be thinking that, oh, my existence depends on you. That's where the problem comes in. Because love is engaged without dependence. Well, now, attachment demands ownership. It's me and me alone. If you are going, you can't talk to anyone, you can't play, if you can't laugh with anyone, it's only me. If you're not talking to me, you are betraying me. Then that's ownership. And also, attachment always needs validation. Every time you want somebody to validate whatever you are doing, you want them to assure you that nothing is wrong and everything, that's attachment. It's become unnecessary, whereby you need to validate every time. And also, attachment has dependence. You depend solely on that person for your existence. Or you depend solely on your job for everything. Like someone said that if you retire today, or the job says go home, what's going to happen? Because we've attached every single thing to it. We've depended so much on it for everything about our lives. And also, attachment needs love for survival. Oh, if that person doesn't love me, everything is over. You feel that if they are not loving you, you cannot exist or you cannot survive anything. That is not the way love works. That's attachment. It's because the reason why you love is not because you want to enjoy their presence. It's because you want them to be everything for you. Does that make sense? When love becomes whereby it's not about being enjoying each other, it's about life. That if they are not there, if you don't love me, then my life is over. Then that's something else entirely. If your job is not there anymore, you feel that your job is your existence. Or the time that you think you have, then it becomes something that becomes unhealthy attachment. Any question about this? Difference between love and attachment? Yes.
Is it possible to love without the obsession?
Yeah.
How can someone do that? I noticed like you can't really love something dearly without a little bit of obsession.
Yeah, we can love without, because the case is, when we love something, you enjoy the company. It's fun, you appreciate it and everything. But obsession becomes worry, that what if this thing should go? You keep worrying about, what if I lose this thing? And everything, because obsession becomes complete ownership. That because now when it starts to get to jealousy, whereby, for example, you love someone, when that person talking to somebody else, in your mind you are thinking, oh, maybe that they are that person, they have a relationship and everything. Now they're living behind. That's where the obsession is coming in. Because love can be strong, but when it gets to the point whereby it becomes unhealthy, whereby everything that the person does that is not for you becomes a negative thought in your path, then that's where the obsession comes in. Does that make sense? The case is now, if you know someone whereby the way you relate, they can tell you to go and, because when you relate with you, they can push you to do things you're not supposed to do. Or they say that if you really love me, give me your money. That's manipulation. They can take things from you because they are using the love or relationship as a bait to get or to make you do things or to get things from you and say, if you're not going to give me your money, we're not friends anymore. That's manipulation. Does that make sense? Or if you, you have a very nice shoe. If you know we're going to continue to be friends, you have to give me your shoe. That's because they want to gain something over you, and they are using that because they know that because when you have attachment, it becomes what they use over you every single time. And they will say, if you're not going to give me that, we're not friends anymore. You can tell them, good riddance. Because basically, it's not that I can live without you. Manipulation says that I can get whatever I want from you as well to maintain that friendship. And that's how it continues. And the more it continues, the more they make you do things because they feel that you become subject to them. So at that point, they can get whatever they want from you. Because they keep using that relationship as, if you're my friend, you have to do this. And you know it's a bad thing. But because you want to maintain that friendship, you keep doing that thing for them. Then that becomes manipulation at that point. Does that make sense? Any other question?
My question is this, and it's what extent does fear play in attachment and detachment?
It plays a huge role, a very huge role, actually. Because when there is attachment, we are afraid of losing what we are attached to.
On this page, you also respond to Pastor's comment that, for example, I've seen they're based on true life stories. I watch a lot of true crime, and some of those people, a lot of what leads them to some of those crimes of passion that they commit is because of their obsession with the person. Because sometimes if the person leaves the house, they're so obsessed to the point where they cannot do their own job, they cannot be away from that person. They're following that person around to see what are they doing now. They're looking in their phone to see who have they been talking to, who are they texting. If they're at work, they're calling them at work, they're showing up at their job just to make sure that nothing, so to the point where their own life stops because they're so fearful of losing this person that they cannot function. Yeah, thank you for the word. They cannot function because of how dependent and reliant they are on this person being quote unquote theirs. So I think that's where that obsession comes into the point where it's detrimental to themselves, but also detrimental to the other person because some of those people they get fired because their significant other is always popping up at work, I think, doing all sorts of things like that. So some of those people to the point where if they think that person is going to go, they'll actually they'll kill them because they say, if you cannot be with me, you will not be with anybody else. So they do all these terrible things. So I think that's where now there's love and then that is this obsession when you get to that point where you cannot function without that fear of
One of the foundations of obsession, one of the things that it begins to show is fear, is your anxiety and worry. That's where, because attachment is the fact that you love that person, but you become worried about what they can do. And then every single time you are monitoring their lives. That's where thank you for that. That makes sense.
But I also was going to say that, but I think there's two parts to it. Because I think there's one that can be legitimate. For example, if you're with someone who's not trustworthy, and they're doing things that you already know they're not trustworthy. I mean, I think it's easier said than done, but it's just say cut it off and just let that person go. Because some people truly, their behavior warrants
cutting them off.
Yeah, warrants cutting them off, and they're truly doing things that will cause someone to be concerned about their loyalty or their faithfulness or whatever the case may be. So I think it's both.
And when it comes to that, because again, it's easier to tell someone to divorce a person and move forward. It's not an easy thing to do. Let's be honest, because love is there. But when you get to the point whereby the person that you are dealing with, you can't trust them anymore. You need to ask yourself, should I continue with this? That's one big question is that if I cannot trust someone anymore, does it work? Because what happens is, when you cannot trust someone anymore and you keep monitoring them everywhere they go, at that point also, you have to ask yourself can you live without that person? Because if you cannot live without this, it's become attachment. That's something that you have to think about is the fact that, because a person you know that you cannot let them out of your sight for 5 minutes, then does it worth all the trouble? That's what we need to kind of think about. That's why it's the fact that because if the person you're dealing with is not trustworthy at all, you need to ask questions about the fact that, can I continue to do this without losing myself? Because you get lost in that relationship eventually. And the person knows that, okay, this person, they love me so much that they cannot do without me, and they'll be emboldened to keep doing it. Because definitely the problem is when you say it's not on their side. That's where that's the different topic that we can go into deeper, especially when it comes to dealing with someone that you know. Sometimes friendship. If you have a friend that you know is not trustworthy, then you need to ask yourself, does that friendship worth it? You understand? You understand? So but that's something that we can spend more time to, because that's a very big topic by itself. Now let's talk about perspective. One of the things that, having looked at everything that we need to know and everything is to develop a larger perspective in life. This takes time to do, but it takes practice. One of the things is understand the fact that you are one of the factors in the world. You are not the only one in the world. The world has more than 7 billion people, and you're only one of them. Basically. So until you realize that, you know what? I'm one of the things in the world. The person I'm dealing with, they have so many things in their life to think about. Or even if your spouse, your friend, and everything, they have other things in their life that they are worried about. I'm one of the people in their lives. They have parents, they have friends, they have everything, and you are their spouse. You have to realize the fact that you are not the only one in their world. You are one of the things in their world. That really helps you to become less attached. The other one is also, the world is full of supernatural. Number one is God. There's God. I believe that God watches over every one of us. So if you see the world from the perspective that you are one of the factors in the world, and also there's a bigger purpose than you, it helps you to actually stop being attached to different things. Because what if that thing that you have, God said that job has become an idol for you, and that takes it away from you. Without having a larger perspective, you lose it. Even if you lose a job, the perspective that I cannot get anything better, it pushes a hole every single time, because, now that this one is gone, maybe I cannot do anything better. It makes you continue to stay in the same place, because, but when you say, okay, well, if something is gone, something else will come. It helps you to have a better perspective of life. The other one is living in the present. Stop crying about the past. You can learn from the past, but you can't keep dwelling on it. You know, and this goes back to, now, this is easier said than done. Let me say that. Because if you have experienced loss in the past, if you have experienced sickness in the past, if your parents have abandoned you and everything, it's difficult to get over, but you have to tell yourself, it has happened. I cannot fix that. I cannot fix what happened to me. In fact, the other piece also is the fact that also you can't fix something that will happen to you. The fact that you worry about it doesn't mean it's going to go away, or doesn't mean it's going to happen. So when you look at the past and say, well, these things have happened to me in the past, I may not be able to prevent that, but what can you can prevent something from happening. Now, it doesn't mean that everything in the future you cannot prevent. You can prevent something from happening, but you can't keep dwelling on your past and say, well, the person came, they left me alone, and for that reason, I'm going to be salty, I'm going to be dry all of my lives. It's not going to make you better. You have to accept the fact that whatever has happened, it happened. You know, many of us, we deny things that happen to us. We live in denial. You feel that it doesn't, but truthfully, those things happen. You have to, you know what, it happened. And I may not be able to prevent it from happening, but what lessons do I learn from that? And how do I put that behind me and move forward? Like I said, it's easier said than done. But